How are you today? Hello, Joseph. Hello, Miss Bevenhausen. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, tonight we will be talking about self worth because I think a lot of people struggle with self worth. And so, we're going to also talk about the difference between self worth and self esteem. So, a lot of people have low self esteem or low self worth, meaning that they don't believe that they deserve to be loved, to deserve to have the things that they have. And so we're going to be discussing that momentarily. I usually start at 8:40. So what I would like you to do is when you come in, just let me know how your day has been, how your week has been, and your mood. Like, are you feeling good? Are you feeling tired or sad, angry, whatever. And again, my name is Dr. Fred. I am here hosting the Dr. Dare Show. I do it every other Friday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and we cover different topics. Tonight just happens to be self worth. I during the week and during the time I'm doing therapy with my clients, I kind of see a theme that's going on, and I try to use that theme to kind of talk about because a lot of people are kind of struggling with the same thing: low self-esteem, low self-worth, imposter syndrome a lot of the times. And so we're going to cover those things again. So when you come in, click like, share the video, and let me know how your week has been and where you are watching from. And so right now I'm going to make sure that my phone is showing that I am live on uh, Facebook and YouTube. If you have any questions for me, please just type the message out and I'll get to it. So let me make sure that I'm seeing myself live on here. And I don't yet. But welcome, welcome, welcome if you are out there. And I forgot to put my headset on. But I am here in Atlanta. It's beautiful. It's kind of hot. It's kind of humid. But it's not raining or anything like that. Thank you all who joined. Erica, Rick, Ricard, uh, Maria Ortiz, Michelle, Betty Maurer. We will get started talking about our topic of self worth, low self worth, and low self esteem just in our daily lives because a lot of people do struggle with that. And if you're on Facebook and YouTube, please leave a comment so that I know that you are um, hearing me. Okay, Karen, I see you there. So I always see TikTok. YouTube there. TikTok I can see. Facebook sometimes not so much. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me know, Karen, if you can hear me on YouTube or hear me in general. I know you can. You can hear me on TikTok. And so give me a minute. I'm just wanting to check to see if I am live. Oh, there I go. Right there. Yep, yep, yep. Let me make sure I can hear myself. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me know, Karen, if you can hear me. Okay, now I can hear myself. So welcome to the Dr. Dare Show live on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. We are going to be talking about self-worth, self-esteem, and things like that. And so we usually start at 8:40 Eastern time. So if you have any questions for me out there in TikTok, I'm usually not on here. Any questions about anything, grief, relationships, anything, any of the videos that you saw me put out there, yeah, we're here. Audio and video are good on YouTube. Thanks, Karen. And I'm on my phone now, so I can see it's good on YouTube. It's just the comments I can't see on my screen here, but I can see them on my phone, so that's okay. Hello, Julissa. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, thank you for joining tonight, and we will get started at 8:40. And hold, please. I shall be right back. Okay. So yes, it's Friday night here in the ATL. It's what's about 80 something degrees, 90 something degrees, something like that. But the humidity is doing its thing. And so TikTok, I don't get to talk to you that much. I do share a lot of videos on TikTok for grief and things like that. And if you have any questions or videos that you want to see done, please, or topics that you want me to cover, my book is finally in my hands. It's called Life After Loss, and so it's a grief journal, and it's hardcover, which I love, and yeah, so it has about how many pages? About It has 95 pages. So it's a grief journal for people who want to journal their grief. You can get it at Amazon. And so my goal for this grief therapy for TikTok is to do a support group, and we kind of just walk through the journal itself and kind of explore your emotions around grief and loss. Because a lot of people, they don't know how to grieve, and they may be just pushing past it or trying to just say, okay, so I see a question from Julissa. How are you supposed to know if you're getting emotional? Oops, went back too fast. How are you supposed to know if you're getting emotionally abused? Do you know? Yes. And Julissa, that's a good question. And so you have to ask yourself, and I always tell clients this, you have the answers to your own question. So if somebody is feeling like they are emotionally abused, they feel it. They feel it every time they're around that person. They feel like not so good. I always tell clients, always evaluate how you feel around people. If they make you feel not so good when you're always around them, you're probably not getting treated the way that you want to be treated. And so you have to, pay attention to your energy, pay attention to how you change around them. Do they make you feel small? Do they make you feel less than? Do they make you all of those things? You should never be around anybody that's making you feel less than you are, because then again, that goes into the topic that we're talking about tonight. It gives you low self-esteem and it gives you low self-worth. But always pay attention to your intuition, to your feelings when you're around certain people. If they make you feel bad about yourself, then you have to do some exploration, some self-exploration. You have to talk to yourself and wonder, do I need to put boundaries on this relationship? Because every time I'm around this person, I don't feel good. They don't talk to me and like I want to be treated. They disrespect me. All of those things are emotional abuse, verbal abuse, all of those. And then emotional abuse is because I always believe that people in relationships, one person usually has a little bit more power than the other, and they know that. And so they use that power, they use that energy, I'll call it, to say, okay, I'm going to treat this person any kind of way. And so you do have to be careful when you're dealing with people, because people can read energy. They know when, oh, this person really likes me and they're going to do anything that I say or ask them to do. And so you do have to be careful of that. But great question. So you actually know how if you're feeling emotionally abused, because if every time you get around this person and you can't deny it, you just feel horrible. They make you feel horrible. You feel like you're not appreciated, you're not loved, your emotions are all over the place because they make you feel like you don't have any self-worth. I see 13 messages. Hold on. Jalissa, you say you guessed you're being emotionally abused. Are you feeling some of those things? Are you feeling kind of not so good around that person all the time? Do you feel like, you know, you're just carrying on this relationship? Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because my thing is, if somebody's constantly criticizing you or constantly picking out the negative things about you, like they don't like your hair, they don't like the way you cry, they don't like the way you laugh, they don't like you. To me, that's saying a lot. That's saying they're either trying to change you because they don't like you the way that you are, and not that's not a healthy, positive relationship. And our goal is, if we're going to be in a relationship, it needs to be a healthy, positive relationship, in my opinion. Good question. Thank you. Hopefully that helped. Jalissa says, I get laughed at when I confront them. Oh yeah. So let's see. To me, that's a lack of respect. When you can't go to the person that you're dating or or in a relationship with, and you can't go to them and voice your opinion and be open and honest with them, then that's probably not where you're supposed to be. And of course, never do anything that I'm never going to tell anybody to leave a relationship. That's something, your decision that you have to make. But always test yourself. How do I feel when I'm around this person? Because we all should have self worth. And the definition of self worth is, if you have self worth, this means that you value yourself and you believe that you are a good person who is worthy of respect. And I believe that. And then, meanwhile, self esteem is your level of confidence in your worth and your ability. So they're kind of similar, but different. So we want everybody to have self worth. We don't want you questioning, if you're in a relationship, does this person like me? Do they love me? Because that's not going to be a happy relationship, and you're not getting what you need from that relationship. And so you always want to do a self evaluation, a self check. And that's with friends, that's with family, that's with, any people that you're around. If you don't feel good around them, that's probably not a place that you want to keep visiting or keep entertaining. Good, good. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. So, hey, YouTube, Facebook, um, TikTok. Oh, but that is a great question. And I don't know if you're on YouTube and Facebook, if you heard the question that Jalissa asked. She was asking, let me go back and find it. How do you know if you're being emotionally abused? And I was just telling her, basically, we have the answers within ourselves. We know when we get around people, if they make us feel not so good all the time, they're picking on us. We can't voice our opinions. We're silenced. And so that just lets us know, you know, there's something wrong, and that maybe um, this person doesn't like me really. Let's see if there's any more questions. But self worth is important. And the reason why I got this topic that came up, Viola Davis was doing an interview and she was talking about, now she feels like she has self worth, but back in the day, and she didn't feel like she had a lot of self worth when she was in relationships, when she was, you know, in friendships, any kind of ship. She just felt like she was just there. She had no value. She was just presenting, um, or just being present and just letting whatever happens. And that's a lot of us. When we get in relationships, we get in friendships, we just allow people to be, which is okay. But the thing is, we got to put boundaries on our all our relationships. And boundaries, I know we throw that word around a lot, but boundaries is just, protecting yourself from being mistreated. And the way that I tell people, the way you can determine if somebody has crossed your boundary is that if you get upset, if they do something, you really get upset or you get pissed off, then they've probably did something to you that crossed the boundary, and that's how you can identify, hey, a boundary has been crossed. So yeah. So YouTube, and let me see, it might be a question on YouTube or Facebook. Karen says, do you tell the person who is giving you less than or not worthy energy, or they give you energy like they don't want you around, that they make you feel that way? If so, how? You have that conversation. And Karen asked on uh, Facebook or YouTube, she says, how do you have that conversation with that person? Um, with that person about um, the way they're treating you, and simply you do it without any emotions. Like, you make sure that you're not upset, and you try to have a conversation, a civilized conversation. And I always say, when you're having a conversation with somebody and you're trying to get your point across, you should use I statements. Like, I feel not heard, I feel like I'm ignored when you come in the room, I feel, because that way the person doesn't feel attacked. Because you're just saying, this is how I feel. And, even though I may feel that you're causing it, but this is generally how I feel. Because you could feel that way and it may not be the way they are intending for you to feel, or they're not doing anything um, to help you. The word says, what happened to the show? Hold on, y'all. Um, so welcome, welcome, welcome. DeWarders, nothing happened to the show. I am on. Somebody asked me for my my YouTube channel. It is. Hold on. I got so many social media pages, so I have to go look it up. Actually, but it should be Frederick Dare or YouTube. Yeah, I do have a lot. Hold on, let me look it up. I am on. So I got people asking me what happened to the show, but I am on. So let me know if you can hear me on YouTube and Facebook. And my YouTube channel, for the person that asked here, I'm getting ready to give it to you. I'm pulling it up on my other phone. It is the Dr. Dare Show. So if you go, it's the Dr. Dare Show. It looks like that. If you can see that at all. Oh, you can't. Oh. Nope. But it just says the Dr. Dare Show. So if you go to YouTube and you search the Dr. Dare Show, you should be able to find it. Dr. Dare Show. Let me make sure if I put it in the. Yep, it pulls up. So if you go to the search engine, you put in Dr. Dare Show, you will see the show is the top thing, and it shows that I'm live right there. Yeah. Yeah, so we're talking about self-worth. And I gave a definition of self-worth for all the people who just joined. Self-worth is it means that you value yourself, you believe that you're a good person who is worthy of respect. Meanwhile, self-esteem is your level of confidence in your worth and ability. So how many people online, because I have about 2,000 people on TikTok right now, and not that many on YouTube and Facebook, but how many people think they have high self-worth? How many people on YouTube or Facebook do you feel like you have self worth? I'm sorry, I got people trying to find the show and it's there. Hello, Jerry. Hello, Jane. Hello, Iro. Hello, Schmitz. Claire. Um, Thank y'all for joining. Any questions out there? So Jalissa had a good question for us. She was saying, how do you know if you're emotionally abused? And I gave that answer. Let me see. Sorry, let me find myself on Facebook. There we go. Okay. Hey, DeWaters. Hey, Chris. Hey, Danny. Danielle. So, yes. So, we were talking about self worth. So, how many people believe they have self worth? Self worth is the actual belief that you're worth, um, that you have value, that you bring value to your life. You deserve all the good things that happen to you. That you are worthy of love. You're worthy of good relationships. You're worthy of um, love. And so that's the question we're having. Um, because I see a lot of people struggle with self worth. And here's a few things to know that kind of symptoms of if you're struggling with self worth. You're constantly critical of yourself. You downplay or ignore positive qualities. You judge yourself to be inferior to your peers. A lot of comparison, comparing yourself to somebody else's life, those types of things. You have discussions with themselves. You have a lot of negative self-talk, which I talk about a lot in videos, is where you're kind of talking bad about yourself all the time and you blame yourself for things going wrong. And in therapy, we talk about a lot of cognitive distortions, a cognitive distorted thought, meaning that your thoughts are distorted. And a lot of times I feel like we naturally have distorted thoughts. And what those thoughts do, they make us feel bad about ourselves, right? And so I'll give you some examples of cognitive distortion. Yep, self-sabotage, that's a good one. So cognitive distorted thoughts, one of them is jumping to conclusions. You may be in a situation with somebody and you think that you know what they're going to say, you think that you know what they're going to do, but you really don't. You just assume, and that's why it's a cognitive distorted thought. And also with catastrophizing is another cognitive distorted thought where you think of the worst scenario about a situation before it even happens. Most people, and I'll give an example of that. Most people, when they're maybe getting ready to go to a party or they're getting ready to do something new, and then they always, before the party started, before they attended, they're like, oh, I'm going to go there and I'm not going to have a good time. Nobody's going to talk to me. Somebody's not going to like my outfit. They're going to talk about me in a negative way. And so these are cognitive distorted thoughts that we have. But the problem is a lot of us think those thoughts are true. And I know you're going to say, oh, they feel true. It feels like, you know, that person doesn't like me because they made a face. But the only truly way that you'll know if that person doesn't like you is, number one, if you ask them and they're honest and they say, I don't like you. Or they just came out and said it. But unless those two things happened, you don't know. It's just a distorted thought, and it's a cognitive distorted thought. And a lot of that makes us feel bad about ourselves, and we naturally do it. We naturally compare ourselves to other people, which makes us feel bad. And I know social media kind of impacts our self-worth because we look at other people's pages or social media pages and we think they're doing so much better than we are. And so majority of the times that is absolutely not true. Um, it wouldn't be social media if everybody just put sad stuff on there and the bad things that they're going through. But no, they're going to put positive things on there because they're proud of it. And a lot of it's not bragging, they're just proud of it. And they just want to represent the good things that they do. But some of us will look at those things and think, oh, that person has the perfect life. Everything is going good for them. They're always out having fun. They're always doing things, but you're not seeing that other side when they may be crying at night because they're struggling with something or they can't pay their bills, but they just decide to say, "Hey, I'm gonna live life and I'm gonna have a good time until my situation straightens out." Versus us, some of us, if we're feeling dark and not in a good place, we let that show. So El Rose says people see how you treat yourself. They do. And you give off that aura. That's a good statement. Thank you for sharing that. They see that and they're like, well, if you don't feel good about yourself and you don't have value in yourself, then why am I going to treat you? Because I've always told people if you go into a room and you go in with low affect, is what we call it in therapy, or low energy, lack of self confidence, lack of self worth, lack of self esteem, that comes across. That energy is portrayed to people, and it may make you feel. It may make people that interact with you feel awkward, feel like they don't want to interact with you, and then you're all of a sudden thinking people just don't like me. But maybe no, maybe your energy is just off when you interact with people. Okay, let me see if I have any. Yes, Karen, if you can share the YouTube link. But this is people on TikTok, but you can share it, and maybe I'll ping it on here so the next time people can have it. So, any questions? Any questions? Again, before I do end this live, my book is in, and I'm gonna post a flyer because I do want to do a grief support group online, and we go through the my new grief journal. It's called Life After Loss, and it's about 95 pages in here, and it just goes through um, just helping you process emotions about that person that passed away so that you're not holding all of that those negative emotions in. And so if we do a support group, it'll be like maybe a Zoom call or something like that, and we just kind of go through some of the topics that are in the book. Yeah, so any questions? Any questions on grief? Any questions on self-worth? um, yeah, but thank y'all for giving up this little bit of Friday night just to be on with me. Yes. Karen says, I have high self esteem and I'm very confident. I have a great discernment and can usually tell when my confidence, self esteem, and character is welcome or not welcome or under attack. Good for you. You should know yourself. And that's what I was telling Julissa on TikTok is that when you feel something, ask people, talk to people about it. Don't always assume because then that's a cognitive distorted thought, like I just finished talking about. If you jump to conclusions about things, that's not always factual. You know, for some reason, we like to have negative self talk that makes us feel bad about ourselves. And a lot of people think that all their thoughts are true. Not all your thoughts are true, a lot of them are distorted. And so you have to make sure that you've processed that. You've asked yourself, well, did he say that about me, or did she say that about me, or did even though you may feel it, and that's another the cognitive distortion. It's called emotional reasoning, where just because you feel it so strongly, you think that it's actually true, but no, it's just a feeling. So you got to remember, and that's called, you can look these up. They're called cognitive distorted thoughts. There's black or white thinking, jumping to conclusions, emotional reasoning, catastrophizing, generalizing, um, Okay. And so those are some cognitive distortions if you want to go and look those up. And so L Row 510 asked about, can you speak on trust issues? I have trust issues. So the thing with trust issues, you have to see where they generated, what's the root cause of your trust issues. Did you have some kind of past trauma where, or past negative experiences where someone made you not trust them, or there was a situation where you were unsafe, you didn't feel safe? A lot of the things that we go through, and I know this sounds cliche from a therapist, but a lot of things that we go through come from our childhood. You know, if you grew up in a household where there was trauma, you sat there as a child and you figured out a way, how can I feel good and avoid this trauma? That's called a coping mechanism. And you sat there as a child and you're like, okay, if I go in my room and play with my toys and shut the door, I won't hear mom and dad fighting or having a big argument. And so I'll just take myself out of the situation and go hide in my room. So guess what? When you're an adult, that's what happens as well, because you're like, well, that worked when I was a kid. If I see some situation and it seems like the emotions are getting high and it seems like it's getting dangerous, guess what? I'm going to go home and get myself out of that situation. And, you know, but when you're in a relationship and you're trying to have a conversation and there's no yelling and there's nothing, but what you do is you still try to go and leave your partner out there and not have the conversation, then that's going to become problematic. So a lot of trust issues are built from past trauma. So if you've been through some trauma in your childhood, you may experience um, trust issues. You don't trust people. You feel like either you're going to be treated on, or you feel like, you can't ask for help because people will let you down. You just don't trust anybody is going to treat you the way that you feel like you need to be treated. And that's where a lot of the trust issues come in. Yeah. Hopefully I answered your question. Hey, DeWardis, you didn't get on TikTok. DeWardis says your relationships sometimes usually mirror your upbringing. Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up because I tell people all the time in therapy sessions is that you slowly become your parent. You slowly, and you're not even aware of it because you've watched them do these things that are natural to you because you grew up with them doing, and it could be a negative behavior, like they couldn't communicate, or they just had some kind of problem, and you mimic that and don't even realize it. It's so many people. You should see the relationships that I see come into therapy, and they'll tell me about their parents and they'll tell me about their childhood, which is why that's one of the first things I ask about. And as soon as they tell me, I take those notes and then I ask them, well, what's going on with you and your relationship now? And they'll start describing it, and it mirrors, just like the word it says, it mirrors that relationship they talked about, their parents' relationship. They've become their parent at some way or the other, which is why I feel like if you're trying to be in a relationship, I feel like everybody needs to go to couples counseling, because in there, people are going to be more open. They're going to be talking about things that they may normally not talk about with their spouse. Um, and I had couples come in there and they will say, one partner will say one thing and the wife or the husband will be like, I never knew that. Because I think a lot of couples don't really sit and have a conversation and get to know each other. So, DeWardis, I'm so glad you brought that up. Your relationship sometimes usually mirrors your upbringing, the way you were raised. Yep. So we have about 2,000 people on TikTok, my YouTube and Facebook people out there. Um, so good question, DeWardis. But self-worth, I see a lot of people are starting to join on Facebook and YouTube. And so I'll recap. We talked about self-worth. And self-worth, I put a definition um, on YouTube and Facebook, but I'll read it. It says, if you have self-worth, this means that you value yourself. You believe that you are a good person who is worthy of respect And so, meanwhile, self esteem is your level of confidence in your worth and your ability. So, self worth is about the confidence you have in yourself. And then, self esteem, I'm sorry, self worth is the value you have in yourself. You believe that you belong in that relationship. You believe and you truly believe that you deserve all the good things and that you have in your life, and you don't question those things. But somebody with low self-esteem or low self-worth, they give a lot of people power because they find themselves comparing themselves to other people. These are some of the characteristics I listed earlier. I'll read them again because a lot of people are coming on now. You're extremely critical of yourself. You downplay or you ignore positive aspects of what you achieved. You judge yourself as inferior to other people. You use negative words to describe yourself, such as stupid, fat, or ugly, or unlovable. You have discussions with yourself called self-talk, and you're critical of yourself and you blame yourself. Okay, so we have another question on TikTok. Can you speak on codependency and how to work on that? So I just did some research on codependency with one of my clients the other day, and we found that a lot of codependents, I know, here we go, we sound cliche again, but a lot of those behaviors come from your childhood. Codependency is usually caused by either you had some negative trauma or you had some negative experience growing up. And say, for instance, you didn't receive the care, consistent care from your caregiver. Maybe mom and dad weren't always there all the time. And so you had to kind of step up as a child and kind of get your needs met on your own. And so when you grow up, you're like, I don't want anybody else to ever feel like they don't have something. So then you start to make sure the people in your life have everything they need, even if that means the detriment of your own needs. So codependency, and I'll give you a little background of that. Codependency is when you are in a relationship or friendship or anything like that, and you're just constantly making sure that those people are taken care of, but maybe some of your needs are not even met. And you're just giving to these people at the detriment of yourself. And so a lot of people who have codependency, that other person that they're giving to could be treating them so bad, could be treating them like, I don't know what, talking to them like a dog, not even respecting them. But that person with codependency keeps coming back, keeps giving, keeps being there, keeps supporting them, keeps buying them things. And all of those behaviors are generated from somewhere in your past life. You felt like something wasn't received, you didn't get something that you needed, and therefore it's like, I want to make sure that anybody in my life doesn't have to deal with that. But it could be trauma, it could be anything. So I suggest, if you feel like you have codependency, go speak to a therapist so they can actually talk to you about your experiences and kind of see what the root cause is. But generally, I was just reading this the other day, it's usually from some past trauma or something, and it, caused you to have this behavior. So always think of this from a mental health perspective. If you have a behavior that's impacting your functioning, like it's causing you not to be able to go to work, it's causing you problems in your relationship, your friendships, and all those things, then there's something there. Like, there's something that you probably need to get. You need to go sit and talk to someone about the behaviors that you experience, especially if you can't keep friends, or you're codependent. You're just giving people money when they treating you like they're not paying you back, and you still just keep loaning them money over and over again, or you're buying everybody's stuff and you can't even pay your bills. Those are types of codependency behaviors, because you just want to please, you want to people please, and that can become problematic, you know. But thank you for asking that question. So if anybody's feeling those codependencies, or just, I always say, go and Google and see what the symptoms are for codependency. And if you feel like you meet some of those symptoms, then go talk to um, a therapist or a psychiatrist or any of those helping professionals to kind of explore that more. Thank you for those questions. Yes, Karen, it is. TikTok is like 2.5. So, any more questions before we call this a night? Again, I'm going to I'll post this, but I think I'm going to do a group, grief group online with my new journal. It's a hardcover. It can be purchased on Amazon. It's $15. It's about 195 pages, but it just helps you process grief and loss, because a lot of us hold that stuff in, and the purpose of this journal is to write out, you're actually processing, even if it's been 10 years, 15 years, you're actually processing your grief in that way. So I just wanted to bring that up. And yeah, so any more questions before I disconnect? Thank you. I will be back every other Friday on TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook. And you can send me a topic if you want something to talk about, or you can have this style like we did tonight, just asking me questions. Hello, Sandy. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining, Heather, Miss Mill, KB. Yes. And so we're going to conclude this show unless somebody has some other questions for me. I will be back every other Friday to do a topic. You can send me topics, something you want to ask, or you can just ask it live. There is no question. Sorry, I missed you live. That's okay, Sandy. I'll be back. I'll be back on in 2 weeks. So, but thank you for getting on and spending this time with me. All right, y'all. Have a good night, and I will talk to y'all in 2 weeks. Oops. I gotta go back and close that out.